Hi, I'm Debbie, and I'll be your guide for month 10. Now, this month we're going to be sashing all those beautiful blocks that you made in months 1 through 8. The very first thing that you do need to do before you start anything else is take your blocks that you made in months 1 through 8 and label them with Wedgwood, Teapot, Victorian, whatever their names are, because that's how the pattern refers to them. If you have a certain way that you want it oriented up, I always make sure I put my labels at the top of my block. Very important step. Okay? In this month 10, you're going to be using fabrics 4, fabric 9, fabric 10, 12, 11, and fabric 12. The first thing we're going to do again is half square triangles. We're going to take fabric 4 and fabric 11, put them right sides together. We're going to draw our line. Don't you love it when you can't find your ruler that you want? It's always under the last place you look. I'm going to take and I'm going to draw a line, and then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side. Again, cut them apart. Like so. And then I'm going to press them over. And I'm going to trim them to size. Now, you wonder why I like to press them under or open before I do them to size. A lot of people will just take it like this, put them on, trim them. I find that I get a much cleaner block by doing this. And you have your sewing line going across. If you go wonky either side, then your line across is going to be wonky. So for me, it doesn't take too much more to go ahead and open them and then trim them to size. And again, I have that really nice little dotted line that I can put my cut side on. Okay, and so I have my square. We're going to make another set of half square triangles using fabric 11 and 9. On those half square triangles, we are going to take and put another square of your fabric 11, draw a line corner to corner, and this is going to be our sewing line. Once we sew it, then we're going to take and flip it back and, of course, trim the inside of it. This is fabric 12, and this is a stripe. First of all, you're going to cut it into 2 pieces, and then we need to cut our stripes apart. And you will be using all of your stripes that you cut apart. This is a wonderful little ruler because it is the same size of the stripes that you have to cut. Now, I am demonstrating on just a piece in order for you to see how we are going to cut it. When I cut, I'm going to base on these little dots right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is line up, because I want this to be in the center. So I'm going to line up and cut. Such as this. And then I'm actually going to go and cut this one again, because what I'll end up doing is then trimming this one. This is a little tedious, but it's not difficult, especially when you have a ruler that is the same size as a strip, because that way you can see where you're fussy cutting. And you see I'm staying between those dots. Okay, and I'm going to lay this to the side. Now with this one, I can take, it's a little bit easier to manage. And if you look, it kind of lays on the inside of those dots to trim. Okay, and so then I will trim and trim. All right. And you'll do that with both strips. And I like to put one section and then another section so that I keep them separated. All right, now we're getting ready to sash our blocks. And the first sashing, which is going to be using the strips that we cut, we're only going to sash the cobalt, the flow blue, the Staffordshire, and the Wedgwood. And it is very important that this is why you have to have the names on them. Also is we have 3 blocks that will go in the corner that are the same. We have one block that is different, and it is different in each block. So in one block you have it in your right-hand corner, another block in your left-hand corner, and then another one in your right-hand lower corner. So that's why it is extremely important to name them, keep the names at the top so that you get the orientation correct. After we cut our strips apart, we then sewed strips onto the ones that we finished, just plain straight seam. We are going to take the one that has kind of the binding, and we are going to put those around our block like so. Okay. Basically sewing blocks to strips, this to your main block, this to that, and sewing them together. Simple enough. The only thing that you really have to remember is your placement of this block. So we have sashed 4 of our blocks and we have 4 more to go. Now, if you look very closely, 2 are sashed so that they are sashed long ways, and then 2 are sashed so that they are sashed more towards your width, where they're wider than they are longer. So again, it is very important to have names on blocks to know which is going where, because when you start putting them together, then it will be very important. We are going to be using fabric 2, fabric 7, fabric 8, and fabric 11. The first thing we're going to be doing this is making more hourglass blocks. So again, I'm going to take fabric 8 and fabric 11, put them right sides together. I am going to draw, and I keep losing that ruler. I can't. This happens to be my favorite ruler that I have. I use it for everything. But what I'm going to do is draw a line from corner to corner. Then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side. I again am going to cut it. And I am going to, since these are just 2 fabrics that I'm using, I am going to press to the dark, which would be my fabric 11. Okay. Then I'm going to take And I'm going to nest right sides together, but fabric 8 will always touch fabric 11 on both sides. Then again, once I have it nested, I do pin. I just don't show that I pin in a lot of things, but I do pin some things. This would be one of them, especially to make sure that your nesting stays. I will draw a line from corner to corner. Then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side. Once I do that, then I'm going to trim my block. Again, remember our little twist and to break our seams. And this allows you not to have that big bulge. See, you got a little bitty 4 patch in the center, and you're not going to have that big bulge. Instead of, otherwise you'd be doing that, you're going to have a bulge no matter which way you do. So I like to do that and press my seams out. Again, I'm taking my tougher trimmer and I'm setting the line on the first seam going across and then a line going up and down on that seam, so that when I finish, I'm going to have a perfect hourglass shape. And again, I have my cut corner going down with my little line. That just gives me a little bit more security that, hey, this is going to be great. Okay. So, and now I have my hourglass block. What I'm going to do, and as you work through this pattern, you're going to see I'm making these, and then I'm going to put part of these away to use for another step. So now we're getting those pieces. Remember all those pieces that we made a bunch, we used some, and we set away? Well, now we're going to get those pieces out and start to use them. So one of them is a half square triangle that we're going to sew on to a rectangle. And then we're going to sew those on either side of our hourglass shape. Now we're going to take rectangles that we cut, fabric 2, and we're going to take the small squares that we cut from fabric 8. We're going to arrange them so half go one way and half are mirror images. So once you have them arranged, I like to take both sets out and arrange them at the same time. That way I can see that I have this, and then this is the mirror image to it. Once you have it set, draw a line from corner to corner of your small square, and then that is your sewing line. Then flip them over, like so. And you can see a little bit better at this point their mirror image. Now, if you make them all one way, you have to have some going this way. And if you see, you can never make them go the same way. Okay, taking more pieces, remember our half square triangles that we've made. Sew on either side of our hourglass shape. And then the rectangles that we just made, we are going to take and sew on either side of our half square triangles. And that makes another strip. Now, the next thing we're going to do is make some more flying geese. Again, we're going to use fabric 11 for our large square and fabric 8 for our small squares. Place our small squares. We're going to draw our line from corner to corner. Then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side. And then we're going to take our ruler and we're going to cut them. Okay. We're going to take and press that up like so. Then we're going to take another small square of fabric 8, put it on our little wonky heart shape. We're going to draw a line corner to corner, so 1/4 inch on either side. Now again, I don't always say it, but if you have issues with your flying geese, the perfect is going to be for your sewing line to end up in that valley. And sometimes some people have said, well, I have lots of problems with this. One seems a little large, one seems a little big, but the trick is to aim for that valley. I don't always get there, but this is size bigger, so you shouldn't have an issue. But if you're doing them the right size, that's what you aim for. Okay, then we're going to cut this apart once we have sewn that. Press this out. And this ruler doesn't work for all flying geese, but it happens to work for this one. And so I have to show you this. With this ruler, you see this little shape, and it's for flying geese for trimming. So I love my Tucker trimmer. It does beautifully. But this, I always have at my side. And so I will just put that little, make sure this little V goes in. And then I'm going to trim. Then I'm going to set my ruler. And this doesn't work with all rulers, but this one happens to, I noticed that it had that little thing, so I played and I tried, and it works beautifully. And this is usually by my side. Doesn't work with all of them, only one size, but for this it works well. But I had to show you that. The flying geese that you just made, you take 2 rectangles from fabric 2 and sew on either side of your rectangle. Then we are going to take this that we just made, and you make some, you use some, you put some away, and this is some that you put away. And we are going to, and make sure I have it right, which that is right. And then you sew them together like so. And this is awesome. Okay, so now we're going to start sashing our final 4. And Victorian and fine china use the same. It's just that they are also mirror imaged. The last thing that we did was this little unit. We take and put one on the bottom, one on the top of each one. The sides, the 2 that we just made using our hourglass shapes, our half square triangles, our flip and sew blocks, and our plain rectangles, we'll put on the sides. Now notice that when you're looking at these 2, they are almost, these 2 are flipped. They're almost mirror images of each other. And so when you go and put them in the quilt, it will make sense because you're setting them. See if I can find, you have this, and then you have them over here that is mirrored. So it's almost like they mirror each other going around your center medallion. The instructions for this are very good as long as you keep the names of your blocks. That is extremely important. All right, and so now we're ready to sash teapot and our porcelain. And you see, even though they use the same units, we still have them flipped so that this unit is on the top of porcelain, it is on the bottom of teapot. This one is on the top of teapot, it is on the bottom of porcelain. So again, we have these units, but instead of top and bottom, we're going to be putting them to the sides. So we have one here, and then we have the units that we made using our flip, our hourglass shape, our half square triangles, our flip and sew, and hourglass, half square triangles, and regular rectangles. These are now on the top and bottom. Okay, now you're ready to sew everything together. You have your middle medallion ready, and so you're just going to sew these blocks around it. Your instructions are perfect for telling you what goes where. Make sure you keep the names of your blocks on the blocks after you sash them. Go ahead and sew them together, and then we'll meet next time to work on our borders.